Welcome back. Over the years we've done very special shows on Anzac Day. I think we've just about covered every aspect of Anzac, the Anzac Day you could think of. This is, as I said at the start of the show, with women and children, grandchildren and children marching for old diggers. It seems to be the current thing now, which way we're going to go as the diggers get older and older, and we're into our 75th year of Anzac Day next year. This is obviously one of the burning issues. So let me tell you this story. William Doughty was the last garbo to use a horse and cart in Port Melbourne. There he is up there. He was also a member of the 6th Divvy. Christopher and Timothy Doughty never knew their grandfather, but that didn't matter this morning, when with their father David they went to the dawn service to remember him and all the other diggers who fought for their country. Now for the past 6 years, 10-year-old Timothy has marched with his grandpa's mates, but this year it was 7-year-old Christopher's turn to put on the uniform, the medals and the slouch hat and march to the shrine. After a very busy day, they were up very early this morning. Would you please welcome Christopher, Timothy and David Doughty. Welcome, gentlemen. David, what time did you get up this morning?
Oh, around about 4:45.
And you went down to the memorial?
We went down to the Shrine of Remembrance and just made it, actually. We just caught the service. Just as we walked in, the bugle was going, so yeah, it was good.
But how was it? Is this how many have you done this? How many of these?
This was my 7th march.
And you're Christopher?
Tim.
I'm going to blow this every time, aren't I? I've just gone through that. Well, Tim, your 7th march. And how far did you march this morning?
About 2 kilometres.
Were there some troubles? Did you have some troubles this morning actually getting the march? Because
not as much as usual.
What's usual? Now, normally are there some people who don't like to see young fellas marching.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why you marched?
To represent my grandfather, who I never knew.
What does Anzac Day mean to you?
Well, it's not a nice thing.
It's not a nice thing?
Yeah, because lots of people got killed, and I'm proud that my grandfather represented the country.
All right. And what are these? How did you feel today? Was it good?
Yes.
Were you frightened?
No.
No. What was the trouble, David? But in terms of getting them in?
Well, there's a bylaw of the march that children just aren't allowed to march. Women and children who are not ex-service people. And I think the publicity that he might have got in the Sun didn't help very much. But we have been hassled over the years. Certain people in authority, you know, have given us a hard time. And at one time there, they called the police, the marshals of the march, they actually pulled us out of the march. And
today?
No, that was going back to about 1985, which, you know, had him crying. He was only young at the time. And today, we had a couple of policemen come up to us and said, "There's been a complaint made that you're going to put your son in the march." And I thought, I wonder how we found that out. And obviously it was the paper.
Yeah, there was an article in yesterday's paper, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, you can't. And he said, but maybe we can sort of bend the rules a bit. And so he went and seen the marshal of the march come back and said, listen, they can march so long as they stand so far back from the unit. And that's what we did. And then probably towards the end of the march, they crawled up and caught up with them anyway, so it didn't make any difference.
Yeah. I guess some of the diggers actually just help them.
Oh, they love it. You know, well, actually, you know, majority of people love it. It's just you get a couple of people who have got roles, you know, people of authority, and they sort of, I don't know. I mean, I don't disagree with them. I mean, they've got their views and we've got our views, and that's it, you know.
Were you tired this morning, Christopher? Were you tired after you marched?
Yes.
What about you, Timothy? Were you tired?
A tiny bit.
A tiny bit?
Yeah.
Because you've been up a long time. Now, what do you recall of your dad? Did your dad talk much about... was he Bill or William?
Well, he was called Doc Doughty. They nicknamed him Doc. That was what, but he was Bill Doughty, yeah.
All
and
right.
he always used to talk about the war, but he used to talk about the good things about the war. He never used to talk about the bad things, but...
the mateship, you mean? The
mateship and everything. Oh, no, the comical things that happened. He was a bit of a practical joker. And can I tell you a story? Actually, I thought of it earlier on, where he actually, one of his mates was showing a couple of his other mates a picture of himself, a picture of his fiancée, and saying, "Here, have a look at my fiancée," you know. And they're all going, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And my father just happened to be around the corner, you know, And as the fella walked off, they started sort of putting her down, saying, oh, she was a bit of a bag, you know, like... So anyway, my dad sort of got upset about this. He thought, you know, it's a bit low, you know, so he went and cut a picture out of the National Geographics of a dark girl, I was going to say dark Sheila, dark girl, and he stuck it in his wallet. And he went up to the same two blokes later on. He said, have a look at me fiancée. Have you seen? And they've gone, and he says, well, you know, what do you pull on the face? Oh, no, she's very nice. She's lovely, you know. and that was the sort of bloke he was, you know. He's just a practical joker.
A bit of a larrikin.
Yeah.
But did he ever talk about killing? Did he ever talk about death?
Well, no, but I can remember when I was a young kid, I walked in one day, he had a couple of army mates over around about Anzac Day, and they were all crying. I mean, they were drunk, but they were crying. And they were genuine. No, they were genuine. They were crying, and they were pretty. He sort of snapped at me as I walked in, and said, he said, you know, get out, and sort of, you know, I never forgot that. You know, I thought, you know, I never saw him cry very often, and it sort of stuck in my mind. It was just one little incident.
Yeah. What about the Anzac biscuits? Your daughter made these today, didn't she?
Yes, she sat up last night. She was cooking them, and she made.
How old is she?
She's 8 going on to 9, and she made a certain amount of them. They actually made the original recipe, or so I believe, and she gave them out to all the people who had medals on around the dawn service.
Today, did she?
Yeah, actually, it was funny because she's walking up to people, would you like a cook? And I thought she was selling them. They're going, no, it's for nothing. I cooked them, you know, so, yeah.
They're good, aren't they?
They're not bad. They're made of, what are they made of? I can't, syrup. They're made of oats and treacle, I think, no, something like that.
It's obviously, well, they're about to tell us what they're made of, aren't they?
What are they made of? I don't know.
What are they made of? Rolled oats.
Syrup, that's right, yeah.
Proper Anzac biscuits, all right. But obviously, now what have you got there? What are you giving your dad? What's that?
Well, that's actually when my mum first gave me the jacket, you know, and sorry, by the way, that's the original uniform of me dad. It's been taken in on the arms. He used to be a jockey. He was only a little fella, and when he died, he was 18 stone actually, but he was only a little fella, 8 stone 9, and he was apprentice jockey for E.A. Underwood. And that's why it's so small, but that's his original hat, original belt, original jacket and the medals. And this one, I made that up myself. That's a sort of a mock-up, but, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the original jacket, it had, this was a Japanese belt. And it's like the kamikazes used to wear around their heads, you see. And it's got a faded rising sun, and each stitch represents a relative of that, the Japanese fella who went away, you know, and I think there was a segment on the World at War that they spoke about this, but they each sewed a stitch in there, and it was considered a good luck charm, and unfortunately this fella wasn't too good for him, but, you know, and that's his hat. And
your dad brought them home, did he?
They were in the pocket of the jacket, yeah. And he's kept his jacket in mothballs. I mean, if you smell the jacket, they smell very mothbally, you know. But, yeah, it's managed to survive them all these years, so...
David, it's obviously important to you and your family. Anzac Day is obviously important.
Oh, yeah.
Well, why is it important?
Because I just think that people should never forget that there's so many people died, so much waste of life, you know. And if you're going to get rid of Anzac Day, people are, you know, are just going to forget they're just going to go on, and people should be reminded of the terrible thing that can happen. I mean, war is a bit of a con job. I mean, the First World War, so many thousands of people died. Whole townships went and joined up, and you know, they'd form a battalion, and the whole battalion would get wiped out. So every person from the age of 18 and to 30 who joined up would be wiped out. And people just have to be reminded, and these kids, you know, kids now have to remember. They have to keep the spirit going, the march going, so people can remember the terrible thing war did. You know, it's not glorifying war; it's remembering war. Right. You know.
What would your dad say if the doc is up there watching now? What would he say about his grandkids?
Oh, he'd be rapt. I reckon he'd have a big smile on his face. He used to love a camera, I tell you. He used to, actually, this was his tie. I was
going to ask you about the tie.
Yeah,
I thought the tie was a bit flash.
No, that's his tie. He used to wear a furry sort of a hat and a check jacket and this tie, and he reckons it used to make him stand out, and it did. And every time the camera went on the 2nd, 5th battalion, it went straight on him, you know. So I always wear it. I mean, that's my bit of memory of him, you know.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you, fellas, and thank Jackie as well for for the Anzac biscuits.
Yeah.
And I hope you can do it again next year and the year after. There's no way it'll be forgotten. Will you
Yeah,
please
right.
thank the family for us? Christopher doesn't have a lot to say, but he looks good and his heart's in the right place. That's the important thing. After the break, the latest from Hollywood for children with Mark McLeod. That's next.